Now we'll go ahead and share the desktop with you, and we'll open up TurningPoint and bring up that additional topics presentation. Now, if you've been through my intermediate class, you do remember how I basically just built upon the functionality in the software. Now, the first half of this advanced class is more of that, so we'll talk about some additional features you can take advantage of, but really the chunk of this class that is going to be most important is something called session management. Session management is basically everything you can do with the results after they've been saved. So there's nothing you immediately do, but you can come back next week, next month, maybe even next year, and you can do such things as combining individual results and also aggregating data over various presentations. So we're going to cover that at the back half of this class, but right at the beginning, though, we're going to talk about some additional functionality that you can take advantage of within the software. Now, the first thing that I'm going to talk about today is something called conditional branching. And as you can see, I clicked on my Tools tab from the ribbon, and the fourth option down was called Conditional Branching. Now, with conditional branching, I can basically set certain conditions that will determine which slide in the presentation it goes to next, which all depends on how my students or audience answer particular questions. Now, before I can even access this conditional branching, I must create my entire presentation. So every single TurningPoint slide, as well as every single PowerPoint slide, needs to be built in there. I've already done that. So now I'm going to click the conditional branching. And when I do this, the first thing that it wants me to go ahead and do is select a slide. I'm basically selecting a slide to branch from. Now, when I click my drop-down menu, the only thing that we're going to view here are TurningPoint slides. We're not going to see any PowerPoint slides because, of course, our students will not be answering PowerPoint questions. Not possible. So therefore, we can't branch from PowerPoint slides, only the TurningPoints. So if I click slide number 8, which is how familiar, tough word right there, are you with TurningPoint? I've now selected this slide to go ahead and branch from. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is add a rule. So basically, I'm determining conditions. So something needs to happen in terms of how my students answer this question for it to not go to slide number 9, but to instead go to a different slide. So I'm going to click this Add button. So when I click Add, I'm now going to go ahead and put in a condition and then determine the slide selection. So basically, what needs to happen in terms of how they answer the question. So I'm going to click on where it reads condition, and I can go ahead and determine if I want the condition to be by percentage, number of responders, or also majority rules. I'll click on majority rules for right now. Press OK, and now the next thing I need to do is determine what the answer choice is going to be. So I've said if the majority of the audience answers something with how familiar are you with TurningPoint, but now I need to determine what that something is. So I'm going to click on Selected Answer. I'm going to see all those answer choices. I'll select Very Familiar. Press OK on this menu because I'm all done. And now I have one final thing to do, and that is to determine which slide it will go to if indeed that condition was met. So now I'm going to select Slide Selection. And when you see when I click on Slide Selection, I see absolutely every slide in my presentation. So I can branch to PowerPoint slides, but I can't branch from PowerPoint slides. So if I wanted to go to maybe slide number 12, I'm going to click on 12, press OK, and now my conditions have been determined. Now I've only set a condition for one answer choice for this question, but I still have 3 other options. I have familiar, somewhat familiar, not very familiar, and what's that? So from here I can go ahead and create additional branches from this question. So if I wanted to create another rule for this, I click Add. You can now see this is rule number 2. Maybe I want to do majority rules, and they answer not at all. And if they answer not at all, maybe I want to go back to slide number 1. So now I have just built that condition as well. Now I want you guys to notice over here on the right-hand side how we have an AND condition as well as an OR condition. Now if I click on an AND condition, watch what happens down there with the hyperlinks. It reads, if majority rules and hyperlink condition, then go to slide 1. This means that both things must happen. So it's an AND condition, means both things must be satisfied in order, in this case, for it to go to slide number 1. If it only meets one of those conditions, then it's just going to go to the next slide in the presentation. Now we also have an OR condition, which means one or the other. Okay, so either one or the other things happened, then it will go ahead and move to that slide. Now when I'm all done creating conditions, so on and so forth for this, I can now go ahead and just bring up a different slide, and if I wanted to, I can branch from this one. I got to be honest, guys, I've seen this get extremely complicated, and I've seen this be very surface level in terms of only doing one branch. Now, the majority of the time, it's only one branch. So they may bring up a beginning slide, and maybe it's a knowledge check. So how much information do you currently know about fill-in-the-blank topic? And if the majority of the audience says this, then it's going to jump to that. If it doesn't meet that majority, then it's just going to go through the presentation. And people usually leave it just right there. But if I know this is going to be a PowerPoint presentation that I might want to use several times over, and maybe for several different audiences over, a long period of time, then why not set up a bunch of different conditions to make it even more engaging, even more interactive? Because once you go ahead and build these conditions, it is now attached to this presentation, and you can even take this presentation to a different computer, and those conditions are still attached within there. They're now part of the presentation. But of course, if you take it to a different computer, as we always know, TurningPoint must be on there in order for the conditions to take place. Now, you guys have any questions in terms of setting up or running a presentation that has conditional branching?
I don't think so.
All right. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you here may not be so relevant in education. It's more of a corporate and government option that we have, but it may be to you guys, and I want to definitely show it. And this is something called Ranking Wizard. The Ranking Wizard is what we describe as our decision-making tool. So it allows you to rank multiple levels of criteria on multiple levels of condition. Now, if you remember from our intermediate class, I did talk about priority ranking. Now, priority ranking would allow audience members to rank items based on importance. It's kind of like the priority ranking times 10. So we'll take a look at it. Now, with the Ranking Wizard, I need to go ahead and establish some type of scenario in which you may want to use this. So, Jeff, give me an idea of what department you guys work in or what you guys teach.
Risk management education.
Risk management education, very good.
Yeah.
And let's say that your department was awarded $1 million. So you guys have $1 million, and as a staff, as a crew, you guys need to determine what it is you're going to do with that $1 million. And by determining, you're going to use the Ranking Wizard to help you along. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is add items that you want to rank or compare. So basically, if you get that $1 million, what are some things that you want to use the $1 million for? So, Jeff, let me pose the question to you guys. Let's say somebody wrote you a check for $1 million. What would be one thing that you guys want to do with that $1 million?
Improve the quality of our web-based education.
Okay, improve web-based ed, and I'm going to add it in there. Give me one more thing, Jeff. And it could be nonsense. It doesn't have to be.
Upgrade IT infrastructure.
Very good. Upgrade IT. Okay. Did I spell that right, by the way? Infrastructure? Probably not.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I think we all get the idea, though. All right, now I must have at least two things in there that I want to rank or compare. And basically, this is what I want to do with that money. So now that I have it in there, I'm going to click Next. Now I need to determine what the criteria is going to be. Or, Jeff, this is basically what we want the outcome to be if we invested into IT infrastructure or if we invested into improving the web-based education. So give me two things that we want the ultimate goal to be if we use the money for that.
First one. Yeah, for the first would be obtain more clients.
What was it with more clients?
Obtain more clients.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more.
For the first one.
Grow revenue?
Sure. Grow revenue?
Okay, more revenue. All right, now you can see you could possibly put a Z criteria in there if you want to, which would add another criteria to the equation. I'm going to go ahead and keep this unchecked. Now, for right now, in the training purposes, I'm going to keep everything in the default, standard XY. We're going to group by criteria, and we do not want to show charts or auto advance. Now, I'm going to click Next. I'm going to go ahead and determine what I want the ranking scale to be. Now, in my opinion, 1 through 10 is pretty broad in terms of deciding the highest and the lowest. I like 1 through 5. So I'm going to uncheck 6 through 10. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and edit the text here so everybody knows that 1 is the lowest and that 5 is the highest. Click Next. It's wanting me to go ahead now and review my selections. And when I click Finish, it's going to go ahead and build my slides into this presentation.